hello, and thank you for joining us, everybody, today. Welcome to the November 2021 Power Apps Community Call. I'm Todd Baginski, and as usual, I'm hanging out here with my buddy Charles Sterling to bring you another fun month of Power Apps goodness. And as usual, again, we have such a fun community. It's an absolute global thing we've got going on here today. So Craig, he's also in the USA with Charles and myself. We have Luise joining us from Germany and Carmen joining us from Belgium. So again, it's just awesome. Every single month, our community all around the world, people coming together to talk about this fun technology. So if you haven't joined us in the Power App Community Call, I'll tell you what we do here real quick. We meet on the third Wednesday of every month at this same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, and we talk about the latest news and community announcements and Power Apps. We get to meet people who do this at Microsoft and create this technology that we get to play with. We get to meet people from all over the world who are using it to do fun things like just build games or to solve problems at business. And we've got examples of both of that today. So we meet people from all over the world. They teach us the cool things they're doing with Power Apps, and collectively we all learn a lot more. We have a good time. So this call couldn't be possible without all the people on this slide, not just Chuck and I who get to be here and talk and meet everybody and hang out, but Heather is promoting us all the time and working on the things on the community site and helping people find out about the call. And Andrew's always editing our videos and putting them up on YouTube so we can reach more people who can't watch it live. So thanks to everybody here who is part of this call. It sure takes a team to make it happen every month. If you'd like to connect with us on social media, use the Power Apps CC social media tag there, hashtag Power Apps CC. These are all the people and my cool word art graphic here who use this hashtag to spread the good news about fun things we're doing on this call and the people who have joined it and what we learn. The other cool thing about this call is right now in the chat channel, you've got Power Apps team members, Fast Track Recognized Solution Architects, Power Apps MVP, Power Apps Community Champions, Power Addicts, more power than you know what to do with. If you need a question answered or you're blocked on something with Power Apps, just go to the chat channel. There's so much power waiting to help you out and get you unblocked. And it's just fun seeing it every single month. Somebody come in and go, what about this? And then they leave going, thanks, everybody. I know right where to go. All right. So that's what we do every month here. And now let's get going about what are we doing here today. And I always talk a million miles an hour in this at the beginning. You've probably noticed. And the reason is because we've got so much content every month. Not waste time having me talk. Let's get to the good stuff. So what are we learning about today? Well, first, Craig is going to show us how he built a Power Apps Christmas calendar that has hidden games built into it. This is really cool, and I think everyone's going to enjoy it. And then we're going to get on a topic with Carmen and Luise on how to provision teams via the Power Platform solution. And this one is near and dear to my heart because I built a similar type solution, but I built it outside of Power Platform. And I did it in SharePoint Framework with Graph API. I've seen a lot of what they've done, and there's things very similar here. And so this is going to be fun. And I think a lot of people are going to go, oh, wow, I didn't know I could make it that easy for my end users to provision themselves a place to do their job. So when we get done with those, then we'll talk about the recent news and community contributions. There's been a lot of news this month because of Ignite and other things at the end of the quarter announcements. So Chuck has added a lot of that news to the deck, and I'm sure he'll have a good time telling you all about that. So that's what we have in store for today. And now I'd like to hand it over to Craig here. And Craig has been on the Power Apps community call for at least a year. I've seen Craig pop in, ask questions, answer questions. And one day I was like, hey, anybody on the call want to present? And Craig said, oh, yeah, I've got something. And so here we are today. And so I welcome everyone out there. If you're on the call or watching now, recorded or live, if you've got something to present, that's how this call works. Reach out and tell us about it, and we'll show the whole world. So Craig, you've got this awesome Christmas calendar and app game, and I'm lucky I got to see a demo of this last week. So I'll let you take it away here and show everybody how much fun what you built here with Power Apps.
All right.
Great start
Thanks.
to the holiday season, right?
Exactly. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate everybody having this opportunity. So for those My name's Gregory. You can find me on YouTube, Power User with Crash Long Johns. That's me. And also on Twitter at Crash Long Johns. Basically, where this kind of came from is back in August and before that, I've been seeing people creating these games. And I'm like, you know what? I do day in, day out normal work, creating intake solutions and things like that. Let's kind of have some fun. And then where it really sparked is after August, seeing Gerard Simpson from North Ireland having How to Feed Your Dragon game. I was like, oh, I got to get on this bandwagon. So my calendar idea came about because when I was a kid, again, these days, I don't know if they're still out there or not, but I had a pop-up book. It was a Christmas pop-up book, and back of it had a pop-up of a house, and you'd open each of the windows, and you'd sit there and see a picture behind each of the windows. And that's kind of where this came about. I'm like, all right. And then we added some games to it, so some extra stuff. So let's kind of jump in here and get into like what we got in this one Power App itself. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So what we got here is my calendar idea. Started out small. I did have a little bit of some creep, but it makes it all worthwhile. So this Power App is kind of a year-round Power App. So first thing is on January 1st, you're going to see this screen. Happy New Year. From January 2nd to the end of October, we're going to get, hey, Santa the Reindeer on vacation at the beach. And we've got our little crab and our little computer, and it's telling us how many days are left. Right now, it does show -16. That's because normally you don't see this after that date when it becomes 0. But whatever will show, like, hey, this is what you see. Once it becomes November 1st, you'd actually get the screen of the Santa's house and everything, telling you, like, hey, we're closed, and how many more days till December 1st. Now we get into our actual little advent calendar. Snow starts falling, and we have our little doors that we can open, windows. And what it is every single day you can open up a door or a window, but you can't go past that day until that day comes. So example, right now this one's set down here to December 10th for this example. So I can hit each of the days and open up, and voila, there's an actual picture behind each of our little windows. And I can go all the way up to the 10th, but after that, I can't go any further because it's only December 10th. And then I can also hit a reset, and it closes all the windows. So, and then our little snowflakes and everything, they're all on timers. They're at various different durations and rates, so that way, when it first loads, they all start kind of at the same time. But then as it goes on, you can see that we got it falling at different rates. Let's go to a full December. So we're going to go into our full December. So this is December 1st through the 31st. And I did add down here today's date so you could see, like, hey, it's set for December 31st. In the normal production, it's actually not set to one particular date. I do have, I can show this once we get into the back end, but it's set to a today value of text for now, and then just looking at the day and the month. So in this case, I can open up all the way to the 25th, as we can see here. But here's where the extra magic comes in. Once we get to December 18th, our little first present shows up. We get our purple present. And then on the 23rd, we get our second present that shows up. And this is the bonus. These are the games. So we're going to go ahead and click on our first present, our purple present. And we get Capture the Reindeer. So basically the goal is capture as many reindeer above the chimneys. You collect the reindeer as many times as you can that they're visible, and you get your reindeer counter added. So we're going to go ahead, and we got 20 seconds to do this. So we're going to click on easy. Nice thing is in here, you're going to see that the reindeer might stay a little bit longer and easy because the duration's a little longer. But we're going to go ahead and start the game. Now it's going to make it interesting because I'm actually have to click a mouse. This works a whole lot better on a laptop with a touchable screen or an actual like iPad. The one piece I haven't really been able to test as far as like what it looks like on an actual physical iPad, because I'll be honest, I actually don't have one. So and everybody always teases about me and my technology, like, but you're doing tech stuff. Why do you? I'm like, yeah, I'm cheap. So we're going to go ahead and start this game here. So also we're going to have our reindeer eventually show up here because I do have a shuffle in there too, and maybe not, but am I going to get any reindeer that's going to show up? Oh, there is one, finally, with my shuffle. Oh, got to click some more. Come on, click the reindeer.
So Craig, you're clicking them so fast again that you're barely seeing them show up again.
I know.
Yeah.
So there's 34. So let's go to a hard one real quick.
Well, we know what happens when you go to hard.
I know. Get ready. Because I don't know how well I'm going to be able to capture them with a mouse click. Here we go. Start game. Oh, reindeer.
It's a lot harder to capture them. And that's why we can't see them, because they're flying by and going on and off so quick. Well, Craig's trying to do it as fast as he can.
Oh, I got 7. My table wasn't done. So, I got 8. But like I said, it's easier with a touch screen.
That's true.
But there we go. We got our capture the reindeer. We got easy, normal, hard. The reindeer, on the easy, sometimes it varies because it does have a shuffle in there and based on a timer. So it doesn't mean that the reindeer is always going to be there because it's shuffling as the timer ends and reshuffles. So that's why our first one was kind of like, oh, the timer's going, but no reindeer. They're there. They just had it. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. But they will show up. So let's go ahead and go back. So that's our first little surprise of our games. And then this one, we're going to go ahead and click on our second present, which again shows up on the 23rd. And this one is going to be our catch this elf. So you got like 1 minute to catch an elf or elves moving across the shelves. You click as many times as you can on the elf. You will see elf or elves to catch per level standing on the bench, which is on the right-hand side. And click the right elf and gain points. Wrong elf and you'll lose points. So good luck and see how many stockings you can earn. So we can hit our little racer. And you can look at the point scale. There's an easy, normal, and hard point scale based on which level you're going to pick. So we're going to go ahead and click on easy. So we got our easy. Oh, all right, here's my elf that I'm trying to catch. And we kind of look at it, kind of get a feel for like, hey, what's the elf I'm catching? All right, and we're going to go ahead and hit our start game.
And you got to look real close at Craig's elves because he made some of the details on what's the wrong elf hard to find.
So easy. It's kind of easy to pick out because I made it easy. But so we're going to hit our start game. And all right, we got our 60 seconds. Oh, here comes the elves. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Oh, there's one. All right, I'm getting points because, like I said, easy. I know I'm just looking for some blue shoes. All right, I'm gaining points. Oh, there's the blue one at the top. I want more points. Oh, yeah, I got my stocking. Woohoo! Like I said, this makes it tough when I'm having to click a mouse. That's a lot of mouse clicking. Oh, I got another stocking.
Your score's flying up way harder than it was last week. You're on the ball.
Well, it also helped that the shuffle worked for me in this case because the high point. Oh, good. She's on the end there.
They're going away.
I know. It's like, oh,
can you get to 1,500?
Oh, got it.
Almost no more elf on the shelf.
So
awesome.
Trust me, with a touchable screen, you can get all 6 stockings. And I even have done it on the hard, but you have to have the right shuffle, and you just got to be on your game. But so here we go. So Todd liked this one too, and this is where it gets interesting. We're going to go hard. Ooh, I got 2 elves try to catch that I can earn points on. Okay, let's look here. We got, yeah, all right. And here we go, guys and gals. So I'm going to start a game.
We need a jump ball emoji that we can put up here. So Craig, just like I predicted, the first question to pop up is going to be about how did you get the snowflakes falling on the fingers? Yep. Clarissa asked about that one. So Clarissa, Craig showed this to me last week, as you can see he's jamming. You get more points on hard level, and I thought that question you had would come up. So Craig's ready to take you through that one, actually. What do you think about this game? That's cool, huh? Cool. It's 5 seconds left. And
yeah.
5,000.
710. Woo. So there's our quick little 2 games. May definitely keep you entertained. No. So we go back, and then what takes place, after December 31st, once it becomes January 1st, they'll go back to, hey, you got to wait for the year to then be able to replay during December. So, but those are the 2 out there. So yeah, so let's go ahead and go into the back end here. And here's our open calendar. So what we are looking at for having our snowflakes and even kind of the gallery, it's all based on timer, location, and durations. So if we go ahead and expand this out, so I'm looking at the width, the height of my gallery, or the height of my actual screen. I'm also looking at the width of the actual icon itself. So if we go down here, we got my one group timer of the snow. As you can see, I have this it's repeating, it's auto start and everything. If I look at in my group, I got all the different timers for each of my flakes. So on the timer flake 7, I'm sitting there, I got a duration of 8780. And if I go to the actual group flakes, should be in here. In my 1 or 2, there it is, image.
It's an A+ for naming conventions.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
So here's my image flake 7. If we actually go down, and it's going to actually be in the Y piece, because we saw the Elves, I'm using the X, but for the Y grid, what we're doing is we're taking the timer flake value, and I'm dividing that by 10, and then minus 110, which the 110 is actually the width of the actual snowflake itself. So what we're doing is we're setting it outside, and the timer value then is going down, and then it just repeats over and over again. The biggest thing that you kind of have to do, and thank goodness for my past econ and statistics background, is the math comes into play, because you have to start playing a little bit. I would get them off where they needed to be based on their width, but then trying to figure hey, do I need to do that divide by 10 with the duration? Mm-hmm. And what you're doing is you're taking that width and your timer values, that duration value, and you're dividing that all. So I know that's not the greatest explanation, but it does work. You just happen to set, your width or height of your actual screen, and then So we'll just use, I'll show it a little easier in the versus the snowflakes. Let's actually go to, let's collapse this a little bit. Actually go into the Elves. This will be easier to kind of explain and see. So we got down here, here's my top shelf, mid shelf, lower shelf. That's my timers. And we got our lower shelf. And so with my lower shelf, to set that gallery off to the left-hand side, which you'll see it right there. I know that the width of that and everything to set it off is the width of the screen is 1366. So I set that over there and that moves it over by the 1366. In this case, my image, not the image, but the gallery itself, we go down and look at the X. It's looking at my timer lower shelf value, again, my whole duration. I'm dividing that. In this case, it's not an actual, like, you're not seeing an actual like number like we did with the snowflakes, like, hey, 10. This one is, I'm using a variable for my lower gallery rate. And the reason why is when I hit the easy, normal, hard button, I'm setting a rate for each of those so that way it's faster or slower. And that's what that rate's doing, is like it's making things faster, slower. And then the minus 1366, it's minusing pretty much the width of my screen. My screen 1366 wide. So if we look at the easy button, we get into a slew of stuff going on. But in here, part of that gallery is I'm collecting my images for that particular like elf, lower, middle, and top, because I have that specific for the easy, what images I want to show for the easy. I'm setting my gallery durations, which in this case, they're all 60,000. My gal rate, I'm also having a certain rate, which if we look into the hard, you'll see that they vary. And then I have the shuffles. I'm also displaying which doll to show, what stockings and amount to show. And then I reset some timers. And then in my start, I really get, I'm starting my variables for the elf start, which starts the timers, and then the visible for the shelves. If we look at the hard, you'll see that here, those durations change a little bit, and also the gal rates change. And again, this is where kind of that, what I did is to like really help out is I definitely was doing algebra, which I was just writing out like, okay, X is this, Y is that. And then, but even though you'd calculate it out, sometimes I had to tinker with this and play it, because it's like, okay, I want it to go all the way and not all of a sudden disappear and then start over again. So you have to like, I had to like tweak like, okay, if I do 7 point, divide out stuff. So yeah, hopefully that answered and kind of gave the insight there. It was just, that particular piece, yeah, it didn't take me long. It was just more figuring out like the calculation piece. One of Todd's famous questions they always ask when it comes to the games and stuff is like, how long did it actually like take us? So in my case, it actually took 2 weeks to get everything like completed. That wasn't like 7.5-hour days each day for 2 weeks. I might have had like a weekend where I maybe spent 4 or 5 hours, and then the rest of the days, maybe a couple hours here and there. The hardest part about everything was just the images. The concept and everything, I felt was pretty easy to like put into play, hiding, showing, getting my collections, my variables. But it was the image pieces because it took me, I had to go out. I did purchase, the images that I was after in my case. So that was the piece, because I'd get an image and then be like, can I make it fit? And then get it to the right dimensions. So I personally, I was utilizing Illustrator with Adobe Illustrator and doing that way. So
that's awesome. You have such a great set of skills, all the way from the front end design to the mathematician behind it to make things move, and the IT concepts of putting it all together and making different levels. That's really awesome, Craig. A lot of people are wondering if you're going to share this app. Did you upload it anywhere?
I haven't uploaded yet, but I tend to. So
awesome. Look, wow, the applause got tripled when these. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, I forgot to ask you that on our call, because like, oh yeah, how exactly? Because I know I need to try to do that, but yeah, I haven't done that yet. So
very cool. That was very neat. Thank you for sharing it. It's a lot of fun. It's really fun to get into the Christmas spirit here. My son came in and watched it while you were demoing it, and he's like 2 thumbs up.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. I guess he got lucky to be sick home from school on the day we did the community call. All right. Well, yeah. Cool. Thanks again, Craig. That's awesome. And whenever you make another, let us know. Yeah. We'd love to see the next one you build.
Thanks, Todd. And I know somebody asked, like, if what my handles are again. I know it's in our slide deck for resources. So.
Oh yeah, sure. Awesome. It's actually right here. So I'll just pop that up for one little short bit there so everybody can see that. And then we will jump over to Carmen and Luise with their presentation here today too. That's very cool. You ladies can take it away whenever you like. So now we go from just totally having fun with Power Apps to actually solving a real world, pretty common business problem here. Before you go on with this, I'm curious, what was the customer that initially inspired this when you ran into this use case? When I went after this, it was a city in America that wanted to spin up teams for a part of a city's government that was responsible for responding to disasters like earthquake, hurricane, things like that. That's why they needed to be nimble and pop up a team with everything they had. I'm curious, what was the reason that you encountered this?
Well, there was actually no specific customer, but it was all of our customers that inspired this. So it was a combination. Yeah. And we go into depth about why actually it's also a part of the presentation.
I see. So you just saw this common theme of everybody's like, how can I stamp these out exactly like I want?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Luise, will you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I will go ahead. So thank you, Carmen. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for having us. I'm Luise Freese. I'm an M365 consultant, Power Platform developer, Microsoft MVP, member of the PNP team. I love Lego and stickers and community and graph and the number 42. And you can find me on Twitter if I'm not joining these calls.
And I'm Carmen. I'm a Power Platform consultant based in Belgium. I'm also a serial learner, so I constantly like to learn new stuff. And I love shoes. I love reading. I love Taylor Swift. She has a new album out since Friday, if you're interested. And
it's red.
It's red. It's red. So it's red season right now. And today we are going to talk to you about ProvisionGenie. And we want to start with explaining why we built this thing that we built. Because, as we mentioned, a lot of our customers were asking us for something to provision teams. And we both felt that the out-of-the-box feature to create teams, like create an empty team, doesn't really fit users' needs because they usually don't know what you can do. They don't know that you can have additional libraries. They don't know that SharePoint is in the backend and that you can have lists and all of these cool things inside of your team. And on the other hand, A lot of provisioning solutions work with templates that then provision a certain number of channels with names and then maybe a list somewhere in there for planning or whatever. And that also doesn't fit users' needs because they always want something that's slightly different. Additionally, people can't really articulate their needs. And that is why we wanted to build a solution where we blend learning with the actual requesting of the team. So we explain in the application why they would want different channels, why they would want an extra library or a list in their team. And that is how ProvisionGenie started. And we have a couple of concepts that we want to share with you. And I will just put them all on the screen.
Yeah,
and
bring it all on, Carmen.
UI. Yes.
Yeah, bring it all on. So, so as you might see, so we put a lot of thought into this, and also it took a long time to really develop this, but I think it was worth it to really focus on a very, very good UI in the first place, because we felt if we go for a Canvas app as the front end, and then this Canvas app looks like usually Canvas apps look like. Just like ugly and slow and a little bit buggy, and we have those buttons that scream to you, I'm a Power App, and my developer does not know how to make an app look like a Teams native app, then users won't be that likely to adopt the app, and they will feel like there is some kind of friction in between of their experience that they get in Teams and they are a Power App that we want to use them in Teams. So we built this application using the Teams UI toolkit. So that is a framework that is mostly used by our ProDev colleagues, and shows them how a button should look like, how a table should look like, so how all the UI components should look like. But usually Power Apps don't look like that. We just applied this to our Canvas app so that this app really looks and feels like Teams native.
Yes, and then for the backend, we didn't actually go with a Power Platform solution. So we created the first version, like the proof of concept. Can we do what we want to do? We did that in Power Automate, but then for the actual solution, we decided to go for Azure Logic Apps, which, if you're familiar with Power Automate, you can do Azure Logic Apps as well. It should not be, you shouldn't be afraid of it because it's the same UI. It just has some extra features. And those extra features is why we went with Azure Logic Apps, because with the Power Automate Cloud Flow, that flow will run in the context of the user that is triggering that flow. So either the user that created it, if it's like an automatic trigger, or the user that actually clicks the button, which is not what we want. We wanted this to run in the context of an app so that we can then, this is enterprise ready, it's more reliable. It doesn't depend on the user creating it leaving the company and there being like a service account for that. It's just owned by the organization. You have a lot better developer experience because you do have the visual designer, but you can also have a code view so that you can tweak little things. You can more easily copy things from one logic app to another if you want to split that up. And it's a lot easier to monitor than a Cloudflow, which is why we went with Azure Logic Apps.
Yeah, exactly. So, and next thing related on the Azure Logic Apps is, of course, we need a way to authenticate against Graph API, because every magic, of course, is backed up by Graph. But we did not feel that we wanted to have an app registration, because an app registration, it forces us to have an app secret or a certificate. Let me tell you, if there is a secret, there is the potential that there are leaks as well. And also, we just felt like we didn't want to put that into a key vault, because that would mean that we need to have then the credentials to log into that key vault stored somewhere. So we felt like, hey, this is not really a superior solution. So we went for a managed identity. So managed identity is a way for everyone who's not aware right now to give your application an identity in the cloud so that you can authenticate against without the need of having and maintaining and rotating keys or secrets and stuff. And so So all of our calls work with the managed identity, and the managed identity is also part of the deployments, of which we'll talk just like a little bit later.
Yeah. And then as for the data, we did go with Dataverse. Of course, we had the option of going with SharePoint, which we also did for our first proof of concept. Very quickly set up a SharePoint list or a couple of SharePoint lists, put it in there, and then see if it works with the Cloudflow. But then again, we were thinking about, okay, so we want to really make this an enterprise-ready solution. We want this to be reliable. We want it to work well with the Canvas app. And that's why we went for Dataverse, because contrary to SharePoint, which is not a relational database, Dataverse is. We can have role-based access control with the security roles that are built in, so we can decide which requests a user does. They can see. Can they see everything? Can they only see their own or the ones from their team? You can decide all that in Dataverse. So you have a lot more granular control over what people can see. The same if you want to do something for admins later on. They will be able to see more than a user does, and maybe they can also do more than a user does. As I mentioned, it's a relational database because we do have several tables that we are storing our data in, and there are relationships between those tables. So it was important for us to know that that data would be stored well. And it's more performant when you combine it with a Canvas app because it's built in the same platform. So the calls go a lot more quickly if we want to get data from Dataverse or we want to write data to Dataverse. It's a lot faster than doing it to SharePoint and also than doing it to another SQL database.
Hey, Carmen, quick question. Craig actually had it. You using Teams Dataverse or full-blown Dataverse?
Full-blown Dataverse.
Okay.
And of course, we have a good reason to not just like do the little sister Dataverse for Teams, because so if you do Dataverse for Teams, then your Dataverse database is then tied to the life cycle of the team. And if we speak about this very organizational context, then this feels wrong. So this is just like plain wrong to do that. And I guess this is more a question of, can I just like work around the additional license? And whenever we ask ourselves to do so, we're holding this wrong. So I know no one wants to pay extra, but sometimes you need to do if you really want to have a very robust and scalable enterprise-grade solution. And this is why we chose to go with Dataverse without 14.
Super. Thanks for that great explanation. I'm sure that helps everybody out.
Okay. So next thing is the deployment. So when we decided to really build this as an app and not only to have a proof of concept or a minimal viable product or just like pretending to do so, but to really put a product out there, we chose to open source this because no one of us wanted to make this a product for their customers or not a solution for their customers as well, but we wanted to open source it. And this means that we needed to make sure that our solution would be deployable to other tenants as well. And if you go for Azure Logic apps, then you need to put that into an ARM template. And of course, the solution itself is the zip file that you can then download. But we have an entire deployment guide to make sure that you can deploy this into your tenant as well. And we have right now, we could announce our first major community contribution. So shout out to Gavin Barron, who's not only a dear friend, but who worked with us on a deployment script to deploy ProvisionGenie. So first we had manual steps to deploy the solution, which required just like you going to the Azure portal and just like clicking a lot of buttons until you were at a point where all Azure resources were ready in your tenant so that you could actually deploy the solution from our template files. And he automated everything with us together and did really a major step forward with us. So thank you for that. And it proves the power of open source and community.
Yes. And talking about open source and the deployment guide.
How long does it take to install? I know you ladies could install this thing way faster. than
Yeah.
most. So
Okay,
if
so
you were brand new to Power Platform, what do you estimate? Can you pull it off in a day?
If you want to deploy this with a new script, if you know what you're doing, under 5 minutes. If you don't know what you're doing, it will take about half an hour, because you first need to educate yourself about security rules, which are also part of the process, or application user, but mostly Dataverse stuff. But if you know what you're doing, it takes less than 5 minutes to deploy that into a tenant.
Super. Wow, that's awesome. That's always the hardest part when you open source something, is making it easy to deploy for everyone.
I think so. So I think Carmen just left the building, but then rejoined the call again. So
I got thrown out of the call. Yes.
Good to see you back again.
Yeah. So what we still wanted to talk about before we jump into the actual demo is the documentation that we created, because as Luise mentioned, this is an open source solution that you can find on GitHub. And we also have a website, it's ProvisionGenie.com, where you can find all of our documentation. So we haven't just uploaded the solution to GitHub and then written a quick explanation of what it should do. We have created in-depth documentation about what are the components, why did we make certain decisions, why did we go for Dataverse over SharePoint, or full-blown Dataverse over Dataverse for Teams? Why did we go for Azure Logic Apps? What is our roadmap? What are we still working on? What do we want to do next? The deployment guide that we mentioned, how you can do this, which is now a lot easier than it was 2 days ago because of the awesome work that Gavin did. The core components with information on everything. For example, the overview of Dataverse. Which tables do we have in Dataverse? What are the most important columns? So you can see that we have a request, and then a request has channels because a team has channels. We can have libraries, we can have lists, and of course we can have multiple of these as well. And then a library and a list have columns in them, so that you can also link all of that. And this is our data model in Dataverse as it is now, as the solution is available. But this can be easily added on to, like we are doing. We are working on members now, which you will see in the demo that we are about to give as well, that we will add members and additional owners to the team as well, which then creates a new relationship. And this is why Dataverse was for us the way to go, because relationships, when you're talking about teams, if you want to model that in a data structure, you will have relationships between different types of data. So that is also why we went for Dataverse. And then I guess we can jump into the demo.
Yes, please. Okay, so what you can see here now is ProvisionGenie is already added as a personal app to Teams. It has a beautiful icon, so thanks, Michael, for doing the ProvisionGenie logo. So we have a lot of shout outs because this yet again is a community effort. And what you can see is we first try to educate our users. So we have these 4 cards, and we thought staying on track of everything that you need to do, just like your task management, so that people would not confuse now chat with a task management tool and say, hey, Carmen, could you please do this or that, and then by chat. So because that is not better than doing the very same thing by email, and uneducated users would do so. So we educate them and tell them, hey, if you need to take care of your task, we can give you a SharePoint list so that you can do that. And you might ask yourself, yeah, but Luise, there is a tool for tracking your tasks that are group related in M365, and that is Planner. And this is kind of the elephant in this room, because the Planner API, and sorry for getting just like a little bit more technical, does not give us app level permissions. And without app level permissions, we can't go for a managed identity. And then we need to have a workaround with a messy service account, and then this can't be MFA enabled, and this feels like messy, and as if we shouldn't do that. And this is why we chose to not do that, but provide people with a SharePoint list that mimics the behavior of a Planner plan, just like has all the different columns that we find on a planner task, and educate people how to do this. And we heard it at Ignite, board view is coming, so it will even be a little bit more from a UI perspective, but from a developer experience, we get the great SharePoint API endpoints in Graph and can more easily deal with that. Second thing that we educate is on conversations, like please don't start every time a new conversation. If you want to reply to what are add mentions for, please don't overly use notifications and something like that. So we educate people not only how it works, but what are some very good practices on how to get started. Because yet again, usually people who are new to Teams, and yes, there are still people new to Teams, you can't believe it, they can't articulate what they really want. Then we educate about having better meetings, because we know we're stuck in meetings way too long, so they take too much time, and then there is no time left for the actual work that should happen just like in between of the meetings. So we try to make some good suggestions on how to really excel at meetings, and perhaps just like not attend all of them just because you got invited. So that is a good thing, and we educate about recordings as well. And once we have that last step on educating users, and Carmen's closing that, is about organizing your content. And this is, of course, all the documents and files that will live in different SharePoint libraries. So we introduce that concept of please don't do these cascading subfolders that you know from your file sharers, but start to have start embracing metadata and start to embrace different document libraries, because that is way more superior and will lead more easily to that goal of finding your files and retrieving the information that you were looking for in the first place, instead of just like keeping you busy with just like clicking through folders and subfolders and so on. Okay, so this is the education part. And as you can also see, we do not only have a nice navigation and a main part in this app, but on the on the right-hand side, so that is what I struggle always with. On the right-hand side, we have this sidebar, and this sidebar tells you what you can do on this screen. It's just like the how to use this screen on every single screen. And of course, on this welcome screen, it tells you what this app is about. So we did not just like hide it somewhere in an about tab or so, but we display this, what you can do here. And on the next screens, you will also see that we provide additional learning material for each and every single topic. Just like if we talk about members, then we provide learning material on just like what is the role of a member, or what should I do as an owner, or what is a guest, and provide additional links and videos to that, so that our user can educate himself or herself more easily, but blends this with the with the process of requesting that team, so that it is more like a combined experience instead of we'll always need to switch context again and again. Okay, so shall we provision a team?
I think we shall.
Yeah, I think we should do that. So Carmen is starting that provisioning process. And of course, the very first thing that we need to do is we need to give it a name. And this would be ProvisionGenie demo. And we give this team a nice description. And then we will ask two questions. And the first is, do you want to have a welcome package? And the welcome package is just like a link that gets added as a tab to the channel general. And you can define that tab during the deployment process. So it's global over all teams that get created. Why is that? Because we think it could be learning material. So it could be something like an intranet page or a document library, but it could also be just like some external link that you want to display. So where you feel like this is something that every Teams user should know and should read and should already be there when they have a new team. Second thing is, does our user want to have that list for their tasks, as we already mentioned? So this is optional. We only provision that if our user indicates that they want to have this. And we also introduce the gallery view already here, so that they know what they get. Okay, so thanks for closing this pop-up again. And once we have this, we navigate to the next screen. That is perfect. And I would say we can add some members to our team. Thanks for doing this. And another member. And let's add an additional owner. And as now Carmen is demoing this, I'm the additional owner of that one. And perhaps you saw that depending on what is already selected, we would just like display or not display certain buttons to just like guide our user what they can do right now. And now it's just like, so you can see Yannick is already a member. And now Carmen tried to add Yannick as well as an owner, and we got a notification with a notify function which says, so in order to make Yannick an owner of that team, you first need to remove him from the members gallery, because that wouldn't make any sense if he was both a member and an owner, and vice versa. So if she now would like to add Luise again as an owner, she would get an error as well, because I am already in the gallery of an owner. So there's an error, so she can't proceed with that, but she needs to delete my name and then add another one or no one as well. And you can see in the sidebar, so the details will give you detailed information, just like going through the steps so that it is totally clear what the user is expected to do right now. So it is just like the help, but that is not hidden, but super obvious for our users. And if they need just like additional information, like, yeah, but what is the difference between a member and an owner, then we give them additional resources and tell them, hey, if you want to, we have resources for you, so you can just like click them. And educate yourself, and then just like continue with that process. And of course, this opens in an additional tab, and it's always Microsoft resources or resources that we really, really trust to educate users. Okay, so we proceed on the next button. And we would like to create some channels. And perhaps you might have noticed that each and every single screen already contains this check mark, yeah, but I don't want that. So in this case, we have a I don't want to create channels. And if we check this, we can proceed to the next screen already. So this is a new feature which we implemented right now. So there should be a warning. So what should happen with the channels that you already put in there? But yeah, so it is work in progress. So
under construction.
It is under construction, yes. So you can see the preview here of the next release. So that is not anymore the first release, but that is already, yeah, in progress for the next release. So we review our channels, and perhaps Carmen made a mistake, and perhaps we want to delete the channel again, so we could just like re-add this, so there's nothing just like written in stone, and our users always staying in control what happens here. Proceeding here, Carmen clicks the next button, and next thing is we want to create an additional library. So you know, as SharePoint is one of the backends of a team, we already have one document library, but perhaps we want to have another one with just like different metadata than the first one. And I want to have a description, which is multiple lines of text for my image library. Then I want to have a status, and this is a choice. And we have, of course, column values for this choice column, because we need to provide them, because it wouldn't make any sense to have this empty. So we would just like create this option set. And after that, we will go ahead and save this library as well. And yay, we got a pop-up, because it's always good to just like motivate your users and tell them, hey, you're doing things right. So that they stay in this process. And now we do pretty much the very same thing and provision a list. So you might know it is basically the same thing. This is a different template in the same call that we later make towards graph, but we will just show a few different column types right now. I think this was release date exactly, and then we will save this, and yet again we get a little success pop-up, and now it's time to check out, which means we get a summary of all the things that we already did. And we are asked to review that. So before we reach that point of no return, where we actually say, hey, and now submit this because I want to have this team. And we see our team name and the team description and who's the owner. So the first owner, and if they want to have a welcome package, and if they want to have this additional list for tasks, and we see the members and owners that will be provisioned for us, and we display them here so I can still review that and go back if I made a mistake. Then I will review my channels, and even those are here. And then I will review my library and my list, and I will get the column names here so that I can review that as well. And I'm still sure, yes, I'm exactly doing what I wanted to have. And then it's time to check out, which means I need to select this checkbox and check this. And only then this final submit button will not be disabled anymore, but will be in edit mode so that I can submit the data. And this will patch all this stuff that you saw before into the respecting Dataverse tables. And from there on, our logic apps will pick up those values and will provision all the assets that our user requested in the Canvas app.
Yes. So as Luise mentioned, the logic apps patches the Canvas app, patches the data into Dataverse, and then that will trigger our logic apps. And yes, we have multiple because we decided that we wanted to be able to have components, and that it was easy for us and for potentially other people, since we were going to open source it, to reuse some of the components that we had. So that is why we have one main logic app, which takes care of the logic of actually ProvisionGenie. So it takes the data from Dataverse, it puts that into a certain format, and then it provides that to each of the child logic apps, which then take care of the actual doing things. So we have, for each of the things that we are doing, we are adding people. We are creating a library, we are creating a list. We can create a task list, which then in turn calls the create list flow again, because this of course has the calls to graph to create an actual list. We have one that starts to create a team, and we also have one that provisions the welcome package. And the main flow takes care of orchestrating all of that. So if we take a look at the designer, you will see that this looks almost exactly alike to Power Automate. So if you can do that, you can do this. That is the same journey that I went through when starting with ProvisionGenie. And the logic apps will kick off when a record is created in Dataverse. Then we will initialize some variables, do a couple of things in the background. And then we are going to make everything ready to create the team. So we are going to look at what are the channels that we have, and then we will put that into a certain format, and we will provide that to our child logic app, which will actually take care of creating the team. Let's take a look quickly at the create team, because I believe that we are running out of time. So let's take a quick look. What does the create team logic app do? It does not have any link to Dataverse, so it can be reused for anything else that you want to reuse it for as well, as long as you provide the information in the right input format. It will first create a group for the team, because we are starting from a group and then teamifying that group. So we create the group, then we create the team, so the teamification process of that group, and then we will configure the channels. Very important when we configure the channels, two things. we make sure that we hit the files endpoint so that our users don't get this annoying error, your files aren't ready yet when they first open the team. So we make sure that that files folder gets provisioned, and we get rid of the wiki because we don't like the wiki. It's not reliable. If someone accidentally deletes it, it's deleted for real and you cannot get it back. We want to prevent our users from accidentally losing their data. So we don't want the wiki tab. We delete the wiki tab for every channel that we provision. This is non-negotiable for us. And then the output from this logic app goes back to the main logic app. And then that is used to make sure that the libraries, the lists, all of that gets provisioned into the right SharePoint site that is linked to that team so that it can also, that it's all in the context of that team. If you want to learn more, go to ProvisionGenie.com. If you want to contribute, you can find the link to GitHub. We love contributions because we cannot do this on our own. We have had help up to this point as well from Gavin, but also from Michael with the design, from Yannick with the debugging. So if you want to contribute as well, we highly welcome it.
Carmen, has the team been created already? How long does it usually take?
It can take a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Because the Teams endpoint, the way that it is set up, you first need to provision the group. You need to wait for that to be completed and then for the teamification to happen. But it has been created. It's the second one. This is the one that I did earlier, but it has been created in the meantime. So we have our channels that we provided.
Yeah.
We have the training material pinned in the general channel because we did ask for the welcome package. And if we open the Files tab, we see that it will open immediately. So none of that annoying stuff. If we open the site in SharePoint, of course, let's skip this.
This is always a fun solution to build because after you click the button, it's really easy to go, there it is, there it is, it did it, it did it.
Yeah. So, and we will have the roadmap list that we provisioned. We have the images document library, and we also have the task list because we did ask for the task list. One of the things that is on the roadmap is to make sure that these get pinned in one of the channels, because for now they are in the SharePoint site in the background, which is not ideal. But that's something that we want to do in a next release, is to ask the user also which channel each of those libraries and lists should be pinned to, so that they can access it from Teams immediately as well.
Awesome. I have a fun enhancement idea that I put into the one I built. I'm going to follow up with you both afterward. And,
cool.
And since we already wrote the code
cool.
and that code's open source, we could merge it in here real quick, I think. Cool.
Would be very cool.
Thank you for the awesome demo. This is amazing. You two put so much time and effort into this, not just in making it and building it, but the whole website, how we built it, everything. That is just awesome. Thank you so much. I bet we could do a deep dive on it for an hour with you easily. So much you built. Thank you for sharing.
Happy to do that.
Well, let's chat about it. Maybe there's a cool spot to deep dive and spend another 20 minutes on. I'm sure there is. Thank you very much. Very cool. All right. Well, let's see here. We will finish out our call now. And so if anybody would like to learn more about Power Apps or any of these things, you can go find out all these helpful resources right here. These are not specifically dialed into the presentations we saw today, but if you're looking to learn about Power Apps or Ramp Up or anything, this is the places to go. You'll find more content than you know what to do with. The next thing is turning it over here to Chuck. Chuck, you've got a lot of cool new announcements, a lot of them coming out of Ignite here, huh?
Yeah, we actually did 16 blog posts at Ignite. And what I did is I had to pick my 4 favorite children out of those 16. And this is actually the 4 that I picked out. And it may not be your 4, but this is my 4. First of all, I am a huge Azure. Just like Luise and Carmen, who are using Azure functions, we can now use our Azure subscriptions for Power Apps based usage. So that's actually pretty cool. Matter of fact, I saw people chatting about that in the window. Ralph, I saw you actually chatting about that. Thank you very much for doing that. The new Power Apps mobile experience can be branded end to end. So this is actually truly your experience that you're offering your folks. The Dataverse will actually now surface in search. It was a little bit before Ignite, but certainly actually surfaces in one of my favorites. And then all the collaboration features. So we actually have did 2 blog posts on those, and there's more coming. You're actually going to see that as you work on your Power Apps, you can actually start working together. So just imagine that advent calendar where you actually had some person working on the graphics and another person working on the animation. Imagine Clarissa helping you out all the way through, Craig. So that would actually have been very cool. And the other 12 announcements are in this one blog. So that one link in there has my 4 favorite plus all of the rest that we did at Ignite. So we actually rolled it all up for the folks on this call. And I want to thank Clay Westner for actually pulling that blog post together specifically for us in the community to actually go out and kind of get it in a bite-sized piece, all those announcements. Todd,
That's
back to you.
That's a great blog post. I've read that one myself. And sometimes he pulls out one sentence of a big announcement and puts it in there. It's chocked full of a lot of stuff. That's for sure. How about the search team, right? Do you remember when we used to figure out how to put a project together to figure out how to index something and search it? Now you go to one box and like every single thing in Microsoft's got their tip of the cap for them. So basically with the collaboration and building this stuff, this reminds me of Figma. This is like using Figma and design collaboration actually in low code now. It's pretty neat. All right, let's talk about the rest of our awesome Power Apps community real quick. The first thing we'd like to point your attention to is the Power Addicts Hangout. It's a whole lot like this one, where people from all around the world get together and show what they're working on and learn cool stuff about Power Apps. So check out wearepoweraddicts.com right there, or search for that Power Addict or Power Addicts hashtag on Twitter or LinkedIn, and you'll find a ton of great content too. There's also the Less Code, More Power video series by Donna and Sarah. So this is a shorter format. You'll find 5 to 15-minute videos here interviewing one person on a given topic related to the Power Platform. Let's immediately jump into a deep dive on that call each time. So we invite you to check that out as well. And Chuck, the summit kicked off today, didn't it?
Yeah, we actually are just wrapping it up right now.
Awesome. Will those sessions and things like that be posted online afterward if people would like to watch them?
Yes, they are actually. Yeah, I'll post their channel back into my Twitter feed, and we'll probably do a roll-up blog post as well in the community. Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good. Then I saw you added this one about the Power BI user groups as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So user groups is a big initiative. A lot of people have been saying, hey, can we actually get our user groups closer to the community and the product group? And one of the big features that we just added was be able to do self-service for the event. So as a user group president, that's a huge boon to me where I can go out and create my own event and make it fast and actually responsive so you can actually see it as soon as I post it.
That's really cool. I don't think we've ever had that capability before in the community. That's awesome. Awesome. Well, that brings us to the end of our call today. So first, I'd just like to say to Carmen and Luise and Craig, thank you. We appreciate you being here, taking your time to put these presentations together, and all the work that you put in to share that with the community. That's what it's all about as a community. Thank you. It's really awesome. Yeah, there we go. Everybody loves the community. We would like to let you know that the recording for this will soon be available. Lately, we've been turning it around in 24 to 48 hours. So Andrew's really quick with that. And you can find that on the M365 Community PNP YouTube channel. You can always find the latest news on what's going on with this call at Microsoft 365 Dev or M365 PNP on Twitter. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. We hope to see you again next month, 10 days before Christmas here in the U.S. on December 15th. So take care of yourselves and have some good holidays until then, and we'll see you next time.